After an unprecedented run of success, could Volkswagen actually be considering selling Lamborghini? Hey guys, what's going on and welcome back to Shifting Lanes. My name's Chad and today we are talking about one of the world's most recognizable automotive brands, and that is Lamborghini. But before we jump into that, if you enjoyed today's video, consider giving us a like. If you're new to the channel and want to find your way back, consider subscribing with notifications on. That way you get all the Shifting Lanes content as we release it. But today we are talking about Lamborghini. Before we dive into their potential sale, let me know in the comments below, what is your all-time favorite Lamborghini? For me, it's gotta be the Sesto Elemento. It is just an absolutely bonkers, just insane car. Just Lamborghini turned all the way to 11, which is basically where Lamborghini should always live. It is just an absolute beast. The V10 howls, it looks amazing, it handles well, it is super high performance. It is literally everything you could possibly want in an Italian supercar. But that's just me. Like I said, let me know down below what your all-time favorite Lamborghini is. I really like reading these type of stuff. I like having these conversations because when you're talking Lamborghini, they're all pretty great in one way or another. Another thing I should mention before we get into the teeth of this video is there is a lot of Italians and a lot of Germans mentioned in this video. I'm, let's just say, not the greatest at pronouncing some of these names, so if I butcher a pronunciation here and there, please, I'm asking you, just give me a break. Forgive me for it. I'm trying my best here. All of that being said, let's get on to today's video. Recent reports have surfaced that a Swiss company is looking to purchase Lamborghini from Volkswagen. Now, Lamborghini changing owners is nothing new. So before we get into the details of Lamborghini's potential sale, we're going to take a look back at their previous owners. As we all know, Lamborghini makes some of the most desirable supercars on the planet. For decades, they have been the poster of choice for kids' bedroom walls across the world. However, to say they have a complicated history is an understatement. Famously, Lamborghini got their start making tractors, a far cry from the screaming speed machines they make today. That all changed when founder Ferruccio Lamborghini was displeased with the quality of his Ferrari and decided he could do better. Fast forward a few decades and Lamborghini was making some of the most insane supercars the world had ever seen. They practically invented the modern supercar with the mid-engine Mira, commonplace today but groundbreaking back in the day. Over the years, Lamborghini's ownership was in a constant state of flux. In 1971, Ferruccio sold 51% of Lamborghini to his friend and Swiss businessman Henry Rossetti. 3 years later, struggling to turn a profit, Ferruccio sold his remaining stake to René Lemaire. Under the stewardship of Rossetti and Lemaire, Lambo built what is arguably the most iconic model in their history, the out-of-this-world Countach. During their tenure, they also attempted to land a military contract for off-road vehicles. However, this and a partnership with BMW for race engines failed, and Lambo was once again in financial peril. After a brief stint being owned by the Italian government, Lambo was sold to a pair of sugar heirs and brothers Jean-Claude and Patrick Mimran. The Mimrans attempted to make a super luxurious street version of the military concept called the LM002. This proved unsuccessful and the Mimrans eventually sold the company to Chrysler for an astonishingly low amount, $25 million. Chrysler found initial success with the Countach's successor, the Diablo, and even utilized Lamborghini's aluminum expertise for their new toy, the Viper. Before we move on, there's one thing we really should clear up, especially about Lamborghini's tenure under Chrysler ownership, and that is the Dodge Viper. I know it's a Lamborghini video, we're talking about the Viper. One of the hugest misconceptions in all of automotive, whatever you want to call it, is that Lamborghini made the V10 that eventually powered the Dodge Viper. That is actually false. What it is basically Dodge had this V10 motor that they were using in trucks and thought, hey, it's got a ton of cubic inches. This should be great for smashing the Corvette, but it's cast iron. It's basically a heavy lump of an engine which doesn't really work all that well in your sports car that really needs to shed as much weight as humanly possible. Enter Lamborghini. Chrysler identified that they're not as good at casting aluminum or doing anything really with aluminum as Lamborghini was. So instead of beating their heads against the wall, they took their new asset, they went to him and said, hey, we need you to cast this massive V10 block for us. We're putting it in a new toy. We own you. Can you do it for us? And that's how the Viper's original 8-liter V10 was made. It started as a truck motor that was cast iron, eventually went to Lamborghini. Lamborghini made the blocks, but Chrysler built the rest. After the early success with Chrysler, Lamborghini was once again in trouble, and Chrysler eventually sold Lamborghini to the Volkswagen Auto Group, ushering us into the modern Lamborghini era. Using German sensibility with Italian styling, the Volkswagen Era has undoubtedly been the most successful era in Lamborghini history. Cars like the Murcielago, Gallardo showed the world that Lambos could be fast, beautiful, and most importantly, reliable. Sales were off the charts, and Lamborghini hasn't looked back. Today, Lambo offers more models and submodels than ever before and has enjoyed a highly successful run. However, Volkswagen, their parent company, has not been without issue. Volkswagen was not without issue. Obviously, see Dieselgate to see just how big the issue got. And if recent reports are to be believed, Lamborghini could be sold once again in the very near future. Autocar is reporting that a Swiss investment group called Quantum Group AG has offered 7.5 billion euros, roughly $9 billion at the current exchange rates, to buy Lamborghini from Volkswagen. Quantum is a holding company based out of Zurich and has a very loose connection to Porsche. Yes, that Porsche. The Quantum representative for the potential purchase, Rea Stark, is also the co-founder of Piëch Automotive. His co-owner in that venture is Anton Piëch, who is also the son of former Volkswagen Auto Group boss Ferdinand Piëch, who is also the great-grandson of Ferdinand Porsche, i.e. the man who created Porsche. It is unknown at this time if Anton Piëch has any involvement in the attempt to purchase Lamborghini. So what does $9.2 billion actually get you? Well, according to these reports, it's more than just the Lamborghini name. Quantum would get everything from the Raging Bull logo to the Santa Agata production facility in Italy. This would also include the motorsports division, and it includes a 5-year agreement with Audi for supplies, i.e. things like the engine, transmissions, things of that nature. So if the deal does go through, Quantum could continue making the current models that Lamborghini offers. Lamborghini recently announced its electrification future, i.e. hybrids and eventually an all-electric car. Quantum wants to continue this by shaping the brand into a spearhead for innovation by consistently implementing new and clean drivetrain technologies. Included in the deal would be access to sharing EV tech with Audi and Volkswagen as a whole. They're proposing the opening of an advanced automotive innovation center in Germany for developing future automotive batteries. So with all of this, where does Volkswagen stand on the sale of Lamborghini? A spokesman for Audi, the Volkswagen subsidiary that controls Lamborghini, said Lamborghini is not for sale. Full stop. Audi AG and the Volkswagen Group are not considering this offer. This all seems pretty cut and dry. Quantum offered billions of dollars to Volkswagen for Lamborghini, and Lamborghini said no. However, the story doesn't end there. Shortly after Volkswagen denied Quantum's offer, Quantum countered with a second offer, this time raising the stakes to $11.2 billion. This all according to a report from Automotive News. Rea Stark, again the man behind the attempted purchase, told Automotive News, "Of course our offer is still valid. After all, we have carefully weighed and thought through our decision for Lamborghini and the attached offer and concept. And if there is a willingness to negotiate, whether that's investments, guarantees, or the purchase price, then of course we are still prepared." This story just seemed to come out of nowhere. Volkswagen is not shopping Lamborghini. Quantum just came out of the blue and offered them billions of dollars for the Italian supercar brand. And if $11.2 billion is a tough number for you to wrap your head around, let me try to put it in some form of perspective. Back in 2019, Lamborghini was estimated to be worth $11 billion. If nothing else, Quantum upping their offer has put them in the rough ballpark of a fair purchase price. I keep coming back to the same question. Is Volkswagen selling Lamborghini back to a private owner a good thing? Yes, I know Quantum is a massive investment company, but hear me out. It does sound like this Quantum Group is a pretty stable financial company. It is still private. It is still not a major automotive corporation. And is that necessarily a good thing? Under Volkswagen's stewardship, Lamborghini has enjoyed for the first time in its history, a length of time of unprecedented success. Is going back into private hands going to ensure that that continues? Or, like we've seen in their history beforehand, when private owners had it and then lost it, had it and then lost it, the private ownership and Lamborghini, they don't quite go together. Only when Volkswagen stepped in did Lamborghini really enjoy any sort of moniker of business success. Sure, they were making great vehicles, but when it comes down to dollars and cents, it was really the Volkswagen era when Lamborghini took off. It was Volkswagen's corporate might. They are a massive entity, remember. It is their corporate might with all of the different types of brands that fall under the Volkswagen nameplate. You have the regular cars, you have supercars, you have Porsche, you have a whole ton of different manufacturers that are all making money. So if Lamborghini kind of slipped up or wasn't having great sales, they could kind of absorb that loss for a little bit until the company got back on its feet, which it did, and then it was just off to the races. Is Quantum financially stable enough to continue to develop Lamborghini once they actually own the company? That's the big question. That's the question I have with this deal. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to, is it good for Lamborghini on the whole? Sure, it might make business sense for Volkswagen, and sure, it might be great for these guys who say, hey, look, we own Lamborghini. I mean, honestly, who wouldn't be stoked at that? But we really don't know, and only time will tell if this sale goes through. As for this video, guys, that's pretty much it. If you want to follow us on social media, it's at Shifting Lanes. Lamborghini might be sold soon. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? We don't know. But for this video, that's a wrap, and I'll catch you next time.